back from beautiful Hawaii, WWIII event. So it's my 7th event. What company has ever given you 7 vacations, all expense paid and bonuses? Never in my entire life. So this is a great opportunity for everybody. But in the meantime, the world is trying to be destroyed by evil people, right? We have Europe pushing World War III. We have the Hantavirus, predictive programming, similar to the WWIII fear campaign. It's all coming together because those that used to own and control the world, to some extent, they still do. People still allow them to, I guess. But for the most part, these people are on the out, and they're going to go out. They're going to go out with a bang, and that's the way this thing's going to work out. So we have, if we can work together and expose their evil deeds, then we can eliminate their fear campaigns and stop them out before they get any traction. So obviously, we're seeing that with the hantavirus. We're seeing Europe basically get their populations geared up for war, and that's just because Europe is dead. Europe's a dead economies. The people are completely controlled for the most part. Although we did see a little bit of life in London, where they just kicked out Starmer. But in Hungary, they kicked out Orban, who was basically protecting the people from evildoers. And so that means that Hungary is going to go downhill probably very quickly. All right, very sad. But, I've talked to people from Hungary. There's some that, believed in Orban, and then some that didn't. Same thing, predictive programming, fear-mongering, MK Ultra. Basically captured a lot of people, and they believed that Orban was not for them. Although Orban kept Hungary one of the few countries in all of Europe that was still free, and that had gave the people the ability to acquire wealth, build wealth through merit. And then those people that acquired that wealth are going to throw it away, just like they did in Soviet Russia, Soviet Union, just like they have done all throughout Europe, just like they're doing in a lot of Democrat cities in the United States. So, we can only, bring the horse to the water. We can't make them drink, right? So this is what this information is about, helping people understand, what is up, what they're up against, and hopefully to make good decisions. All right, so let's jump in. Why is Europe doomed? Why? It's very obvious because the people have let evil people rule them. All right, so Germany has been a culprit of this in the past, and looks like they're going down that road again. So let's listen to Survival Lily and see what she has to say about this.
Here they are writing about the Ukraine war in a German newspaper. They are calling the war the breathtaking transformation of Ukraine and the great opportunity for Europe. So yeah, that's quite a way to describe.
Yeah, that's quite a way to describe that war. Probably well over 1 million Ukrainians are dead. So, but yeah, it's a great opportunity for Europe to, get involved and, start to fight against Russia once again. Didn't the United States come in and save Europe in the past, like 2 times? It's probably not going to happen this time. So we're going to say bye-bye to Europe.
Death and destruction. Since the outbreak of the war, Ukraine has undergone a breathtaking transformation. The country has long since become an influential security factor for Europe. So I have to say, I strongly disagree with this article. I think that the war has just brought death and destruction to the country. There's a lot of pro-war propaganda going on right now in Germany. Also, there's a new law that young men from 17 to 45, they have to seek a special permission if they want to leave the country for longer than 3 months. So yeah, a lot of signs are pointing to the possibility that Germany might prepare for a war. And that's, of course, very concerning. Also, sometimes some German politicians are saying things which put me a little bit on alert. So, for example, in Germany, they were saying that they are now planning small nuclear power plants to combat the energy crisis. But then I think it was a green politician.
So yes, there. And in the meantime, a lot of the world is going back to coal. China on a massive scale. I think Indonesia and the United States. So it is a great way to power, get electrical power and so forth. But Germany has been flooding coal mines on purpose. Right? So Germany is on a very, very dark path.
She said that all those small nuclear power plants would be a great target for war, right? So why would a politician say something like this? Maybe they know a little bit more than the general.
Maybe they know. Maybe it's what we're going to talk about today, predictive programming. So the predictive programming is starting to come in for World War III. When all else fails, they take you to war. And that seems to be where Europe is going. Now, I don't know why, we're going to war, other than the fact that, if we don't, then, we have a place like Iran, which is going to lob nuclear missiles at us. So we have to go to war. President Trump has been very good at not going to war. He eliminates threats very quickly, like he did in Venezuela. And we'll see Cuba go down very quickly as well. The people of all three of those countries, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, all want their controllers to be made bye-bye. Right? So same thing in Canada. All right. So we're going to see a lot of this, probably same thing in Australia, although they just had a great success down in Australia with WWIII. Congratulations to WWIII. They're doing a great job. We've seen, I've had a lot of people on my show that have talked about that, and it's happening. In some cases, we're actually able to win elections. But it takes a lot of involvement by the people. And we've had Lieutenant Colonel Bosi on. I've done shows with him. We've talked about it. He's done a great job. I've had some other people that are in his group on my shows as well. So spreading the word, it makes the difference, guys. So spreading the word and getting involved. Obviously, that's what we did, all of us in England. But ultimately, it is the people of those countries that have to get involved. We can spread the word. We can talk about certain things. We talk about who the evil people are, like Stormer. But unless the people get involved, it's not going to go in a positive way. So what we've seen, and like I said, in Hungary, is a reversal. What we're seeing right now in Italy with Meloni, unfortunately, she's bowing down to the European Union, and President Trump is like, okay, we're going to start taking our people out of NATO, and Italy is going to be one of those places where we're going to take them out. Germany is another place we're taking them out. Spain probably coming. So we're not going to get involved in their war, their world war. We're not going to do it this time. And it won't be a world war if we don't get involved in it. It's going to be a regional conflict, and Europe's going to get its ass handed to it, which it probably should have happened in the first two wars, right? So this is where things are going. It's like I said, it's unfortunate. The things that happened with Viktor Orban, ousted just recently. Peter Magyar won, and he's already starting to change things and flip things back in direction of the European Union. So the European Union has already said, yeah, that money that we've been freezing for the last couple of years because Orban wouldn't get involved in Ukraine, and send money to Ukraine and let illegal immigrants come into the country, we're going to like take those off. So now that all those people you convinced that, you know, it was Orban that was doing all that. No, it was Orban that was basically, you know, saying no to European Union. You're not coming in here and controlling my people. Now that's all stopped, Hungarians. That's all stopped. You guys are going to go downhill. You're going to get what you want. All right. So going back to also, this is Ukraine. Basically, there was a Druzhba pipeline that they shut down. Now, they said that Russia, you know, blew it up with a drone. That's obviously bullshit because they didn't repair it, and they refused to repair it. So they were waiting. So they were putting pressure, economic pressure on in multiple ways on the Orban administration, and the people turned against them. They can see through the bullshit. All right, so now we're seeing Magyar. Reminds me of that one bird in Africa, the Magyar bird, whatever it is. So Magyar causing Ukraine to restart it. And of course, now Zelensky's like, yeah, I'm going to restart it. But Russia, seeing how, you know, the Hitlers are starting to come back in Germany, he's like, no, we're not going to send any to Germany, but we'll help the Hungarian people. Now in Ukraine, if there's Hungarians in Ukraine, they cannot speak Hungarian. Their children that are in school, they basically have some kind of edict or something that they cannot speak Hungarian. So all of this squeeze, all of this, you know, social engineering is, you know, take one step forward, you get 2 steps backward in Europe, right? So it's not really working out. And I think the 1 step forward is just fooling the people until they can get more control. So we're going to see probably World War, and Europe's going to push it, guys. But we're not going to be involved in it. So, you know, Russia has stated it is technically prepared to resume oil shipments through the Druzhba pipeline to Hungary and Slovakia, but this depends on Ukraine reopening the transit route. And of course, like I said, Zelensky has said that he's going to do it, and Russia has said that they're not going to have any of it go to Germany now. So we'll see how that works out. All right. So, and of course, you know, like you heard from Survival Lily, she's talking about how Germany is like, well, we could help people have electricity again, but you know, it's not going to be from coal because we flooded all the coal, mines, literally flooded the coal mines so that they could not be mined, and they're going to we'll build some nuclear power plants, but they could be targets in a war. Targets in a war? You guys what are you talking about? Like Russia's going to come at Germany? Why would they come at Germany? What's Germany going to do to make Russia want to come at Germany? Like they did during World War II, where they attacked Germany and almost made it to Moscow, almost made it to St. Petersburg. But those Russians, man, you know, they just have their way. Napoleon found out the hard way, and we'll see the same thing is going to happen to Germany once again. So it's going to be quite interesting to watch this from afar, because there will not be Americans involved unless Americans want to. I'm sure we still have Nazi Americans that will want to get involved, just like they have been volunteering to go over to Ukraine. All right, so the Iran protest death toll topped over 30,000, 32,000 last I heard, and that was according to local health officials. This was all the way back in January. This was January 8 and 9 alone. So they were slaughtered by Iranian security services. Now, Iranian security services over the last several months have been decimated by Israel and the United States. And on some occasions, some of the, I think Saudi Arabia, maybe UAE, Kuwait, maybe they launched some strikes. I'm not sure, but there's a little bit that has been happening from the Gulf Coast community. So we're going to continue to see some of this, spiral into, like I said, we're going to have to go in at some point. Although I'm open to the possibility that the people will rise up and take care of business, but I don't see how that's possible. But maybe as we continue to squeeze Iran, that might happen. I don't know. We'll see. It seems to be a game of cat and mouse right now. But another one is Cuba. So Cuba is basically starting to disintegrate, and a lot of people are going over and reporting on that. So let's see a little bit of that.
Sacrifices and 1,000 daily struggles. The average Cuban citizen is the one really going through absolute hell here in this country.
It's so interesting being here in Cuba because everything is just like empty. It's almost very like North Korea-like when you come into a massive plaza and there's not even cars. Listen, right now you can't even hear a car in sight. And they have all this other portraits of people and past leaders of Cuba.
So what's going on in Cuba, they were getting their oil from Venezuela, and they were supplying security for Maduro, and they were also doing a lot of the administrative work and so forth. So for payment, they were getting, pretty much free oil. And now they don't have that free oil because we are, controlling to a certain extent Venezuela, the United States, and that oil is being, bought for good prices like it should be. And the people of Venezuela are probably starting to benefit from it already. So as are the people of United States, because a lot of our oil is being bought up by the world as well right now. So this is Nick Shirley, who basically has been exposing fraud. He took a little trip down to Cuba. He's, exposing basically that communism doesn't work, but it seems like the Democrats haven't learned this lesson, and they're still trying to implement it in the United States, in their cities.
There's hardly anyone even here. It's very strange here. They're saying that this is even more quiet than during COVID, during the pandemic. Less people are even leaving the streets than during the pandemic. That's how bad the crisis is right now. And the Cuban people simply just don't have money, and they also just do not have the resources like gasoline to be able to go out and continue their normal lives right now. We headed to a nearby hospital, and from this moment on, we noticed we were being followed by Cuban police and their intelligence after the word got out as asking people about communism. Inside of a communist country, there's no such thing as freedom of speech or freedom of the press. In fact, if you speak out against the current regime or against communism, your neighbor can then report you to an area inside of the neighborhood where the government or the police will then come after you. You have the risk of being...
Remember how Democrats wanted people to report on people that weren't abiding by the COVID standards? All right. So a lot of us push back on the COVID lie. And we're going to have to do the same thing again with Hantavirus. So this is another thing that's popping up. These Democrats, these evil ones, are going to continue their work. And here's examples of what's going to happen if they ultimately get control again.
Imprisoned for speaking out against the regime. What's the reality of living inside of communism? ¿Qué es la realidad de vivir en comunismo?
Son presidentes todos, son jefes todos.
El gobierno.
Sí. Así que funciona.
Hay mucha gente que está muriendo
Que están muriendo
por el comunismo.
por eso mismo, porque no.
So he's saying, yeah, of course, there's people that are dying because there's no medicine, and the communists are the ones that are in charge of that. Of course, at the very top, they're very healthy. They have nice BMWs and Mercedes, and they live in the old mansions of the rich and famous that used to live in Cuba during the Batista times. They were all driven out, and now the communists live in those homes, and they, basically derive their wealth from the people that are in extreme poverty, suffering, trash in the streets, dying, lots of problems for the Cuban people. So imagine if they get the opportunity to rise up against these people that control them, just like in Iran, just like in Venezuela. They had, gangs of criminal people that were part of elite groups, I guess, if you call them that, that would, come down on the people if they got out of line. And of course, they were taken care of as well. So I've seen this overseas. I've been in, security groups and so forth, and I've seen other security groups from these other, high level, Middle Eastern countries and so forth. And they're well taken care of. And of course, the very top people are well taken care of, but the people, for the most part, suffer. All right, so this is the way communism works. Anyone that with two brain cells to rub together, that is any kind of critical thinking or research, knows this is what the Democrats are pushing us towards. In all their cities where they are successful in getting complete control, like I put out in other shows, their cities like Detroit, the crumbling San Francisco, LA, New York City, and so forth. New York City, the millionaires are running from New York City as fast as they can now, because Mamdani said he's going to come after them and tax them, so they can give away their money to the people that are going to be their replacements, and that's illegal immigrants and so forth. So this is what we're seeing. This is what we're seeing in Europe. This is what we're going to start to see on a massive scale in Hungary now that they basically allowed. They voted in someone that is going to open the door for that. Meloni is going to start, even though she said that she was not going to allow illegal immigrants come in. She got pressure from the European Union, and now she's allowing 500 illegal immigrants to come into her country. So it is. We're still at war, and there's still a lot to do, and a lot of people need to be made aware of this criminality that's coming from these leftists and these communists and these Democrats, which are the same thing, right? So, and rhinos, some rhinos. All right, so let's go into the hantavirus. The hantavirus is another program, and I'm going to show you how far back it goes. There was predictive programming that's been coming in for quite some time in movies. We saw it with some recent deaths. We're going to go into that, and some very, very deep rabbit holes that's involved in some of these things. Wow. And just exposing all this stuff should be enough, but we're going to see if they were able to get this hantavirus out there.
Hantavirus. You remember that, of course, because that was what killed Gene Hackman's wife. It comes from field mice, deer mice, and they believe. So
there's a lot I got to share about the hantavirus with Gene Hackman and his wife. Gene Hackman, under their property, they had tunnel systems that date back probably a long way back, and they had the military came in and reinforced those facilities that are underneath his property. Wow. So that's so crazy. And how his wife died 7 days before he did, and then he dies. That's a story, and he basically turned off all the internal videos and so forth, so no one can see what was going on. But on the perimeter, he turned the heat up, basically made him very sensitive on the perimeter, a warning system and so forth. So what was going on there? So this was during the, February, where the Serious Dog Star comes out. Very Egyptian stuff going on here. Very Egyptian. And we know that these guys go, they have their leanings back towards Egypt and so forth. These guys being the evil elite and so forth. So we're going to see some very interesting things come out.
It's quite present in the Andes mountain region, Ushuaia, Argentina, was where one of these couples that had gotten onto this boat that was traveling to, well, now it's heading to the Canary Islands. It's just a tragedy that ensued. Both the husband and the wife have died that were originally believed to be bird watching at one of these landfill areas in Argentina where this disease exists.
All right. So you would think that once the one of the partners, the wife or the husband died, that they would, fly that body out of there. No, for 13 days, that body was on board that ship, or so we're led to believe, before the wife died. That's unbelievable to me. And plus, this is a very expensive cruise. $10,000 to $20,000 are the tickets. And I've, fortunately been on a cruise that was very, very expensive, or I had VIP, suites that, my family were in. Everything is like pristine. So we're led to believe that this pristine ship with these high-paying people got the hantavirus. Right? Does not make sense. And so we're going to continue to see this stuff come up, and I'm going to continue to reveal how this is all complete BS. All right, predictive programming, and we're going to jump into a little bit of that now with Zach Hubbard and Gematria Effect News. So we know that these guys, plan this stuff by the numbers, and the evil elite, the Jesuits, they get something about numbers. It's like if they can make it happen by the numbers, it's like, okay, that's like we're like godlike, because we're having these things because that's the way God works, and so they schedule these events to happen so that they seem like God.
Last year was at the 78th World Health Assembly. And hantavirus goes back to 1978. But yeah, Moderna began developing a hantavirus vaccine in Korea, where hantavirus comes from. And they started development in 2024. That was 46 years after 1978. I mean, are you kidding me? 46 years after it was discovered in Korea, Moderna began developing the jab. And remember, Moderna was founded by Jesuits, just like how the Jesuits have their fingerprints on all this stuff. And you might have saw that patient zero was announced yesterday on May 9th, going with one of numerous 59 rituals in the news. And he comes out of Argentina. They believe he contracted hantavirus while bird watching. Remember how it seemed like it reached a fever pitch, the hantavirus story in the media? That was the day that Anderson Cooper was saying, this could be the next pandemic. That was the same day that Ted Turner died. And Ted Turner in 96, the outbreak began April 6th, the 96th day of the year. But Ted Turner in 96, he was talking to the Audubon Society, the Society for Birds, about how the world's population needs to be reduced to around 200 million people. So he did that for a bird watching magazine, and now they're saying the hantavirus patient zero got it while bird watching. At least they didn't use bats again. But yeah, let's go through this. And I'm tempted to play the clips of Johnny making fun of the base ciphers. Again, if you're new here, we're going to talk about gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. I've written books about this. I wrote a book about COVID pandemic, how it was all by these same repetitive numbers you see on the screen. We're going to get to how all of these numbers are clearly encoded in what happened to Betsy Arakawa, Gene Hackman's wife, who supposedly died from hantavirus at age 65 on the 43rd day of the year, and how on the 38th day of the year it was put out that she had died from hantavirus. And you might recall the first case of Cooties 19 showed up in Bill and Melinda Gates' backyard on the 15th day of the first month.
Bill and Melinda Gates' backyard is Seattle. Sleepless in Seattle. Remember that? So all of that stuff that happened. And we had, some people that were running from it, and they got caught, and all kinds of crazy stuff that was happening during that time frame. And now we're seeing, like you're seeing here, pandemic again. So it's all tied in, like Zach showing, to Betsy Arakawa and Arakawa. So, Arakawa. Saying Arakawa. So she basically, contracted the hantavirus. She was injected with it or something. Just like these people that maybe supposedly died on the ship, probably were injected with it. So I think that they're trying to, well, I don't think they are. They're definitely trying to, do the predictive programming, get everybody ready for another lockdown with this hantavirus, because this goes way back. And it goes way back to, we're going to have this one guy talk about it here. Let's go to the 42-minute mark. And it jumps into a video where this guy is basically talking about some of this stuff.
Effects. And obviously, by 2026, as this user predicted, he's 100% correct. There was going to be, and there has been, a hantavirus outbreak, as the media has been reporting it. And the news has gone berserk with it. But why this prediction is so unique is that, as we said, it was made in 2022, which is the same month that the account was created, and it is only one of 4 tweets the account ever made, and is the only prediction the account has ever made. Moreover, this account has lived in almost complete anonymity since that time. Obviously, this tweet meant nothing in 2022.
All right, so it made the tweet in 2022 that the WWIII was going to end in 2023, and that's pretty much where people started to, walk away from the lie finally. And in that prediction, he said that in 26 there would be the hantavirus. That would be the next virus. So here we are. This is not some psychic or some remote viewer. This is somebody that is revealing information that these evildoers basically have plans for. So it seems like it's all mystical. Somebody's in the know because they're talking to God. No, they're talking to Lucifer, if anything. So this is, as you're going to see, there's a lot of this. So I'm going to play this for a little bit. You're going to get some more of this predictive programming. It's been going on for quite some time.
Today, it means quite a lot. And it says going from that anonymity to over 60,000 followers, hundreds of thousands of likes. It has gone utterly insane and has actually broken the internet in a pretty unimaginably wild way. Because now it's the second time major events in America have been predicted years in advance. And these 2 events happen to happen within the same 30-day period of one another. And we also talked about it last week. There's this Henry Martinez Twitter account that also predicted Cole Allen as being the White House correspondent standard shooter. And now we have this soothsayer account predicting the current hantavirus situation years in advance. So people are beginning to wonder what exactly is going on here. And there is no way that this could have been generated or backdated or inserted into the database and then made to look old. This is a genuine prediction, or as I would put it, warning or notification that somebody made that was in the know. And it's suggesting that these events are not simply happenstance, that they are occurring and were staged, and that this whole thing is a stage. So really at this point, we either have to choose that people know and plan things for the future, or people completely know things and are able to see into the future. One of those is more believable than the other. In any case now, it serves as phenomenal predictive programming at the very least, and is actually only one of many examples of such programming that can be seen throughout this whole hantavirus event just since it's begun, and I'm curious to see if more of these come up as things continue. That in mind, I'm aware of at least 7 of these examples of predictive programming in this whole hantavirus situation. We're not going to get into all of them because we don't have that much time, but I would like to get into at least 4 or 5 of them because they're truly bizarre. And 2 of them come from The Simpsons. So let's start there with the first one.
Today we have to talk about crusty brand chew-goo gum-like substance. We knew it contained spider eggs, but the hantavirus, well, that really came out of left field. So if any of you have experienced numbness or comas, send proof of purchase and $5 to Antidote, P.O. Box 14.
And you are correct if you heard Hantavirus, which is weird because it was pretty obscure then and is still very obscure now. But The Simpsons is known for their predictions. I guess we shouldn't be all that surprised. And in fact, in rank of predictions of The Simpsons, this doesn't probably even reach the top 15. But the next one, and the real kicker, is the one that comes after that. This is from a much later episode in 2012, an infamous year for many reasons. And it comes in season 23, episode 19. And it's where the Simpsons family goes out on a vacation on a cruise. And Bart doesn't want to end. Bart's the son. He doesn't want to end this cruise. And so he decides to sabotage it. And I think we're going to have to record this in a unique way because otherwise I'm going to get flagged and this segment will get taken down. So we're going to record it in a different way. We're going to see if this works. I'm just going to point this out as we go and I'll pause if necessary.
Purple!
This is General William Sullivan with an emergency message. Outbreak of the deadly Pandora virus is spreading rapidly. All ships must remain at sea until further. Humanity must endure.
Virus?
They're buying it. They're buying it. Make sure no one can call home to check. Squirt. Squirt.
It appears we have no choice. To avoid the virus, we must remain at sea.
Vacation forever! Check it out.
The all ships must remain at sea order is something that was received by this very ship. It has been forced to stay at sea.
Now, you might remember the Line 19 basically had ships that had to stay out at sea. I think one of them was off the coast of Japan. Another one was off the coast of Australia. They made them wait for a long time, kept them on board for a long time. So this is not something new. They like to use these cruise ships because I guess it really appeals to people's fears.
Same with people on it, except for a couple of rare exceptions where some people were taken off. Now, after the whole plague is found out and people are trying to figure out what to do, the captain and cruise director says that they're going to head to Antarctica. Antarctica being what this ship was designed to travel to and was specially designed to be able to travel to. Just an interesting little connection there, because not all ships can do that due to the very harsh environment of Antarctica and the ice. Bart looking on gleefully at the squirmish proletariat as they struggle to figure out what to do on board this ship, as he designs this manufactured story to create a panic. I think that all reminds us too much of something else, maybe, and possibly even what could be going on right now. And I don't think I need to emphasize this entire thing is fake, which many people have suggested could be going on with this same Hantavirus situation, especially after Jake made his rather bizarre post to TikTok and social media as a whole. This is one I've not seen pointed out anywhere else. The name of the ship in the Simpsons episode is Royalty Valhalla. Valhalla is the pagan idea of heaven. Valhalla has also taken on a new meaning as of late in the post-Kirk world, in the instance where Kash Patel went up and in front of the podium discussed how much he loved Kirk, and at the end of his speech said, "You will see Charlie in Valhalla."
All right, so there's a lot of this being exposed, and it's definitely going down some serious rabbit holes. You can do a little bit more critical. If you're not convinced yet, you can do more. Predictive programming is running really, really strong right now. Fear porn, all that stuff is on high. It's in a high measure right now. So we had just recently a Fox News alert: 17 Americans disembark at Canary Islands from Hantavirus cruise. So they were supposedly on this cruise a little bit longer than, so no one wanted to take them in. So Canary Islands would allow them to come on. And so now they're going to fly with 17 Americans. So one place they can go, I guess they have two options. They can go to Nebraska, I guess, for further to stay there in isolation, or they could self-isolate in their homes and monitor themselves. Now, remember, this particular hantavirus that these people contracted and died from and spread to, I guess, one or two other people, And I think that's one of the reasons why they like the cruise ship thing, because everybody's contained and everybody's going to be in contact with each other, and ventilation systems. You would think that everybody's going to get infected. So it takes up to 8 weeks before symptoms can arrive. All right. So, and the particular hantavirus that they contracted, these people contracted supposedly in Argentina, is I think the Andes hantavirus, and it has a 40% mortality rate. Right? So, of course, it's going to be more lethal, and 8 weeks before it can show up, and I guess people could be spreading it. I don't know, and so they just shipped them off to their homes now, and so it looks like we're going to see this thing spread through, this manufactured hantavirus outbreak. So stand by. It's going to get bumpy. Fasten your seatbelt. Right, so now let's go down this crazy rabbit hole that is basically Gene Hackman's case, and of course his wife that died. And like I said, she died during the Sirius star, which is the dog star, and they had a dog that was in a cage that had, I guess, had been operated on. They had it in a cage, and it died in the cage. Probably died from malnutrition, thirst, or whatever. They had 2 other dogs, and a door was open. The dogs could come and go outside, so somehow they're keeping themselves alive, maybe catching rats or mice or squirrels or birds or something, and drinking outside. I don't know. It's all extremely strange in this Gene Hackman story, guys. Way down a rabbit hole on this one. So let's wander in. All right. So Gene Hackman case. This came out yesterday, but I've been watching this for for well over a month, almost 2 months now, about this underground tunnel system and so forth. Very, very interesting. It says the Gene Hackman tunnel case has taken a new turn as federal investigators continue uncovering hidden layers beneath the estate. What began as a simple underground passage has now evolved into a far more complex discovery involving sealed chambers and reinforced subterranean structures that date back to the same techniques that the military used back in the 1950s. All right, so the initial report suggests the tunnel was an old private shelter, but deeper analysis revealed a far more engineered system. Each new section exposed appears to challenge earlier assumptions about the purpose of the underground construction. Now, you might remember when they found the couple, they had been deceased probably, they said, upwards of a month, and their remains were mummified, right? So we've seen that, from the sinking of the continent Atlantis in between Europe and America, the Americas. We've seen a lot of similarities, like in Egypt. There's a lot of Egyptian stuff that's along the Mississippi. You have in Tennessee, you have the city of Memphis. And in Illinois, you have all kinds of Egyptian cities and names and so forth. So it's very interesting how the Nile separates into 7 fingers, and the Mississippi separates into 7 fingers. And it's talked about in the Bible. Biblical references to the 7 fingers, the tongue of the Nile, and very similar to the Mississippi. So we're going to get in a little bit more into that. I'm well versed in this stuff, but the real thing we want to look at now is this underground tunnel system, which, what was it used for? Sealed rooms, changed everything. They have, inside, investigators reported found unusual equipment and modified structural elements. While details remain unconfirmed, Of course, they're not going to give us everything at this point, if ever. The findings significantly broadened the scope of the inquiry. So this is in New Mexico, and Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is very, very, it's a mysterious place. If you've ever been to Santa Fe, which I have several times, very mysterious. You have the a lot of ET sightings and, you know, stuff that goes on there. And you also have the ancient Indian structures there, underground chambers and all kind of crazy stuff in Santa Fe. It's a very mysterious, interesting place, and that's where Gene Hackman and his late wife lived. So let's watch a little bit of this.
Breaking news, you're looking at video of one of the last times Oscar winner Gene Hackman, a known recluse in recent years, was seen in public. As we're learning incredible new details this hour about the circumstances surrounding his death. His front door open, scattered pills on the bathroom countertop, one dog dead in the closet, two still alive on the property. 95-year-old Hackman and his wife, a 63-year-old classical pianist, their German Shepherd dog, all of them tonight mysteriously dead.
All right, so one of the last times he was out and about, around 70, when he was 75, he was still being seen in public, and then he became a recluse. So 20 years later, unfortunately, he dies, and his wife dies at 65 of hantavirus. And how did she get it? Was she moved the stove? They said maybe she moved the stove, and there was some rat droppings or something, and she got it, and then she passed away. So no, because they found nothing inside the house, rat droppings or anything, mice droppings or anything inside the house. But in some of the other structures on the property, they found, you know, of course, there's mice in rural areas like they lived. Now, there's a lot of inconsistencies and anomalies in this case. I called it very early on, probably the day of. I was like, bullshit. Right? So since that time, more and more information has come out to substantiate my bullshit call.
Police right now have ruling out a carbon monoxide leak. This frantic 911 call captured the moment they were found.
Are they moving at all?
No, dude, they're not moving. Just send somebody out here really quick.
Okay, my units are on their way, okay?
So Josh Kimball is there outside Hackman's Santa Fe home right now with more of the stunning details surrounding these deaths.
I don't have a lot of fears. I have the normal fear of passing away. You know, I guess we all think about that.
Tonight, an investigation is underway into the death of two-time Oscar winner Gene Hackman.
They're going to work this case. They're going to look at every aspect and try to figure out the exact cause. And I think the autopsy is going to be key, and the toxicology. But again, in my experience, you know, that could take a while.
The 95-year-old Hollywood icon was found dead Wednesday inside his New Mexico home, along
the kitchen by the back door, who appears to have taken a fall. A
cane was found nearby.
And a pair of sunglasses. It looks like he fell where he was and he dropped what he had. You have his wife, Betsy, in a bathroom on the other side of that floor where there are pills scattered on the counter and a space heater that's been knocked over, and a dog in a kennel or a crate that's also deceased. And, you know, it's the kind of thing where you could say murder-suicide, but it doesn't appear to have the trauma that would go with murder. You could say a joint suicide, but those things usually come with a...
All right. Blah, blah, blah. All right. So going down into the underground chambers.
In 30 years of structural assessment, he said he had only seen that specific configuration in 2 other places. Both were classified federal installations. But at 40 feet down, everything changed. The industrial concrete stopped. The steel beams disappeared. What replaced them were rough stone walls carved with thousands of primitive tool marks. The hand-carved core of this tunnel wasn't modern. It was ancient, carved by human hands long before the 1950s upper section was built over it, long before the estate above it existed, long before Hackman. It wasn't a bunker. It was something older that someone had
All right. So Hackman, in later years, when people would see him, he would be in his library. So behind one of the book cases, of course, was a hidden tunnel where he went down 40 feet down to the tunnel system. So it was basically a ladder system behind one of the panels in his library, and or whoever was involved in this would go down the ladder into the tunnel system. Like you heard, there's lots of advanced stuff. There's like some strange writings they talk about. There's this tunnel system that's ancient. So kind of like what I was talking about. We have been here on this, these continents for thousands of years. It wasn't like, there were primitive Indians here, and then Columbus came and we conquered, and eventually the white man came and made this a very, very good continent, more materialistic or whatever, and able to do a lot of other things that the primitive Indians had been able to do. But the primitive Indians talk about these ancient cultures that were here, and everybody's like, nay. Of course, there's mound buildings or mounds, like pyramidal structures, all the way up into Canada, through America, all the way down through Central America and South America. Huge pyramidal structures, mounds, and so forth. Mounds are mentioned in the Bible. And mounds are mentioned in Egyptian times and so forth. There are mounds in Egypt. So this is something that is very, very interesting, how Gene Hackman and his wife were involved in this, and why. Were they part of some kind of group that would, wander down in these catacombs and perform ceremonies and so forth, maybe some ancient Egyptian ceremonies, whatever, or were they just caretakers of this area? Because once they found these catacombs and so forth, these tunnel systems, the military moved in, and the military started to guard this. So there's obviously something a little bit deeper. There was also, I don't know if I have the point, but there's he was able to monitor the vibrational frequency that was happening down in these tunnel systems. And one of the doors was welded shut, and they haven't opened that, or so they've said. They haven't opened that door yet to see what's behind that. But they think that this tunnel system goes very far and is widespread. Now, the neighbors have talked about this. They've covered a lot of this up over the years, but the neighbors have made comments and statements where they have heard like this humming sound coming from the property. So there was either some more excavation work or tunneling that was happening, or there was some kind of, who knows, ET stuff going on down there. Who knows?
Forced, militarized, and buried. And Gene Hackman had been walking down into it. If you've been following this investigation from the beginning, you already know that what gets found at the bottom of that tunnel is the detail that changes everything. What the federal team was about to discover, and what the DNA analysis would confirm about the biological conditions inside it, triggered a classification response that locked down this entire case within hours. If that's the kind of story you want to stay ahead of.
So the biological conditions down there, what does that mean? Did you find some ETs down there? Were they down there doing some, I don't know, genetic engineering? Who knows what this is going to lead to, or if we're ever going to find out. But this is quite entertaining, quite broad, quite down the rabbit hole, literally down the hole.
Subscribe now and hit the bell, because what comes next is the part they didn't want documented. What the DNA showed, then the microforensic results came back, and the entire death investigation shifted direction. Special forensic technician Raymond Voss, attached to the federal evidence team out of the Albuquerque field office, was the first analyst to examine the gears of the library locking mechanism under magnification. He had been told to look for anything inconsistent with long-term disuse, something that would confirm the tunnel had been abandoned for decades, which was the working assumption the moment the door was found. That is not what he saw through the eyepiece. What he saw made him lift his eye from the scope, pause, then lift it again to make sure he was reading the surface correctly. He set down his tools, he walked out of the lab, and he called his supervisor before he wrote a single word in his report.
We do. Officials believe that he most likely died of dehydration and starvation. The Australian kelpie mix named Xena was found near Betsy's body in a crate.
One of the other technicians in the room later described it as the quietest he'd ever seen Voss on the job. The metallic abrasion marks on the interior gears were fresh, not months old, not years old, days old, aligning with forensic precision to the 7-day window between Betsy Arakawa's death and Jean Hackman's. Here's what that means. A 95-year-old man in the final stages of cardiac decline had not spent his last days in bed. He had descended those stone steps. He had thrown those heavy mechanical bolts. He had gone down into the cold dark at some point during those 7 final days and climbed back up before his heart finally gave out. But it was the DNA analysis from deeper inside the tunnel that pulled the whole case out of standard channels. The genetic material recovered from the deepest sections of the chamber indicated exposure to biological conditions that should not exist in an isolated subterranean space beneath a private estate in Santa Fe. What the DNA actually identified has not been released publicly. What has been confirmed through sources...
Teaser, yeah. So the DNA has not been released. What they found was like, it changed everything, but they're not going to tell us what it is. So change everything, like sounds like some kind of genetic engineering going on down there, and maybe some, who knows, ET or something presence. So this is the stuff that we're looking at now. Venus is in February. This February 26th is when I guess they found their bodies. Venus is at its brightest in the month of February. This was back in 2025 when they found the bodies. And they said that the winter triangle, Sirius, the brightest star viewed from Earth, and Canis Major, the great dog. Now remember the dog that was deceased in the cage, all right? And this happened during the dog star. Now the dog star has very significant associations with Egypt, all right? Very, very significant. It was during certain time frames where they would perform certain functions and so forth. Now, one of the places where the ship let these people off is the Canary Islands. And the Canary Islands have pyramids. So interesting how all this starts to come together when you look at it from a much larger perspective. Here's the mystery of the Tenerife pyramids, who built them and why. All right, so they discount this. They say they were built in the 1800s. Oh yeah, you're stupid and lie. But so they talk about the stairways ascending to the top of each pyramid, where a flat summit platforms cover gravel. Staircase is located in the western side, indicating a possible ceremonial purpose. Were there ceremonial purposes happening underneath Gene Hackman's home? So that's kind of what Lovely Tracy said right away. She's like, I think this is Egyptian stuff. So I did the research, and it seems to be pointing in that direction. The pyramids are no taller than 12 meters, made of dry stone with no mortar, with sharp corners, including larger stones, some of which have been carved. The largest pyramid's platform provides a magical double sunset in the summer solstice. And so who built them and why. So same thing, who built them and why, and along the Mississippi and all the way up and down the Americas. Who built them and why. So let's look at the ancient Egyptian stuff that seems to be quite prominent along the Mississippi. All right, so notice here's a quote. Let's see, descended from Ham. It was the name generally given by the Hebrews to the land of Egypt and its people. Neo-Babylonian texts use the term Hezram for Egypt. Notice in the quote above that I put the emphasis around the word mound. So there is, stuff that he was talking about earlier in this. Well, let me show you. I'll show you what I'm looking at. So I did, you do the research, you do the critical thinking, you find this stuff, and then you go down the rabbit holes. So it talks about the Mississippi mound builders along the Mississippi, and it's very similar, Mississippi and the Nile. So pyramids are a symbol of Atlantis, according to the book Atlantis, the Antediluvian World by Ignatius Donnelly. Great book. The pyramid not only are the cross and the Garden of the Eden identified with Atlantis, but in Atlantis, the habitation of the gods, we find the original model of all these pyramids, which extend from India to Peru. So all over the world pretty much are pyramids. There are hundreds and hundreds of pyramids all over the world. It's not just in Egypt. So another clue that North America is lower ancient Egypt is the Egyptian place names of cities along the Mississippi, like Memphis, Tennessee, Cairo, Illinois, Thebes, Illinois, Karnak, Illinois, and Egypt, Georgia. Illinois has a huge territory of land in southern Illinois that is known as Little Egypt. But why? So it's like, just random. We'll call them Egyptian names. Why not? All right. So I don't think it's random. So biblical ancient Egypt was in the Americas. So I've heard a very strong case for this for many, many years. So that's I think what we're seeing. And were we seeing that underneath the house of that famous actor and his wife that died of hantavirus, and the hantavirus that let out Canary Island, right? Where there were pyramids, just like ancient Egypt, or just like ancient Mississippians. They call them the Mississippians. And then, South America, you have that huge pyramid and all the way down into Tehuacan, all the way down towards the tip of South America and so forth. Canary in the Coal Mine, spiritual journey, like the famous song. All right, so here we are. If you've ever been to Memphis or passed through there, you've seen the pyramid that they have built there. They, at one time, how they have those world fairs and so forth. At one time, they had, so they say, they built one and they tore it down because all it was paper mache and cardboard and wood. I don't know. So in 1991, the Memphis Pyramid was built. 20,142 seat arena located on the banks of the Mississippi River. Its shape is a replica of the Great Pyramid built in Memphis, Egypt. And it is considered the 10th tallest pyramid in the world. Initially, the pyramid hosted the University of Memphis men's basketball and the Memphis Grizzlies. But when the FedEx Forum was built, both teams left. Thereafter, the arena hosted many basketball conferences and the 25th anniversary concert honoring the death of Elvis Presley, who grew up in Memphis. However, the pyramid was plagued by a lot of trouble until it became vacant. And then it was bought by Bass Pro Shops and reopened the pyramid in 2015. At the apex of the building is an indoor and outdoor observation deck, a bar, and a restaurant and aquarium for visitors to enjoy. I've never actually been there, but after reading this, I think next time I'm going through there, I'm going to have to stop and check it out. Memphis is a great city. They got great food there. Since 2015, over 1 million people visited the Bass Pro Pyramid, and they have, I guess, interactive museum for the entire family, and the museum, I think they have actually, let's see, place where you can stay in there too. Yeah, it says they intend to actually build more space there for people to stay. So they actually have hotel there as well. So very interesting how they've basically, it's just random. They have all these Egyptian names along the Mississippi River, just random, right? So there's lots of pyramids in North America, like I said. Let me show you guys real quick. So I think all this relates. That's why I'm bringing all this up. And we may start to see when they, push this hantavirus agenda, that we start to see Egyptian themes. Maybe not so much now that I'm starting to reveal it, but it can happen. So if you do start to see it, you know that this is all part of their long-term game that they've planned out. So pyramids in North America, as you see there, mounds, pyramids in Canada, pyramids in the United States, mounds in the Mississippian culture, different looking pyramids in Central America, the Mayan pyramids. I've visited a lot of these, Tikal, and on and on and on. So lots of different pyramids in the Americas alone. So why? They of course say it's just random. It's just random. These people that had no association with each other just happened to build pyramids just like other cultures all over the world. So it's hilarious, the way they control history. So going on deeper, we know that there's lots of fraud that's out there right now, not just the hantavirus fraud, but in the WWIII, but also Medicare, and of all states, Texas. How about that? Yes, there are rhinos. Medicare fraud booms in Texas as sham hospices enroll patients without consent. So it'd be like me, they'd enroll me in a hospice. I wouldn't even know about it, and they're getting money for it. It's like, but I'm not dying. It's like, and I don't know anything about this, but you're making money off of it. That's what they do. They steal people's identities and they basically scam. Even in Texas, especially in Texas, because I think a lot of Democrats moved there. Right. They're starting to take over. Islamist Democrats, poor Texas. In Texas, what should be compassionate care for the dying has turned into a get-rich-quick racket, with shady hospice operators cashing in on taxpayer money. So you people in Texas are paying for shady deals, right? These Democrats and rhinos, those baddies, and you thought you had some goodies, but you got baddies, right? So you have a governor that's a fake. He's a fake. He's a baddie. A lot of people have been saying that. And some people say that if they become governor, that they're going to arrest him, right? So I don't know. You guys in Texas, you decide what your future is going to be like. Greg Abbott, he's deciding what your future is going to be like. You're going to let the Muslims come in and build lots of mosques and he's going to have lots of fraud. And he's going to build like these sports complexes that towns have to pay for with bond programs until the point where people can't afford to pay him anymore, and the whole town goes kerplunk. And it's the fraud is everywhere in Texas. It is a shame. So wakey, unless you wake up, unless you start to push back, these people are going to continue to fraud you. All right. I don't like Greg Abbott, Uptown Girl. Uptown Girl, I'm living in an uptown world. So let me see. Muslims and Pakistani in Texas. Pakistani, ooh, I spent a lot of time in Pakistan. A lot of inbreeding going on in Pakistan, so you're not getting the best. All right, so some people weren't even in this country. Weather looks beautiful. Yes. What do we have? We got 68 degrees, sunny. It's quite beautiful here. You've been inside the Bosnian pyramids? I'd love to go there. Good job. Caroline Golden. What a great day. All right. Just going through, see what the chatty's like. Pyramids were resurrection machines, according to accounts from Herod and Pliny the Elder. All right. So yeah, there's different functions, I believe, they're happening in those pyramids. Pyramid power and ceremonies and so forth that happen in there. There's even stories of where Jesus was in the Great Pyramid and laid in the sarcophagi of the king's chamber. And there's a ceremony that you would go through, and your pineal gland would secrete out the back of your head through the ceremony and would leave mark. And they've seen there has been some of that. And basically, when it does that, it basically gives you like these mystical experiences, like ayahuasca type thing, but you can do it yourself. So that's kind of what I do when I do remote viewing. I just go into that zone and just go, woo, and go out there and see stuff. Yeah, so there's in New Mexico almost every year, there's 1 to 3 people that actually die from hantavirus. So it's not like it's uncommon. There's sometimes tens of thousands of people around the world die, 10 to 100,000 in some years of people that die from hantavirus. Now, what are they doing? What are they trying to do with this hantavirus? Are they trying to create another pandemic? I think they are. So that's why we have to be very, very vigilant of their misappropriation of information, manipulation of information. Probably some of the stuff that's going on in that ship is complete bullshit. All right, that's my take on that. But they're building up. There was like some influencer that had very few viewers that was paid to go on that ship, and he came on after the captain said everything's under control, and then this guy seems ultra gay to me. Came on and started like cry. He had the cry voice, and he was reading something. You could tell he wasn't like speaking from the heart. He was reading something, and he was like crying in his voice, but there was no tears. Very gayish to me, but I guess he's very famous now. Of course, they'll make you famous, and the reason why they'll do that is so people will look and you're intrigued. It's like they're probably, in the past, I had like, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of viewers, subscribers. And some of my videos had like 1 million+ views. Not so much anymore. I'm very suppressed, right? not depressed, but suppressed. I'm very happy. But, you know, there is a lot of information that doesn't get spread, and they make sure it doesn't get spread, which is very, very frustrating. Kellen John, effing horses hoof what? Right? Come in here throwing down bad words. What are you talking about? Right? You're going to get yourself abominated, right? So it's going to be very, very interesting going forward, guys. You're going to have to, you know, watch very carefully some of the stuff in trolling that might be coming in and spreading disinformation as well. And because some people see a troller and they're like, oh, this is all fake. Because one troller shows up and says something negative. But they're the people that are going to believe. They probably got, you know, they believed in COVID, masked up, stayed 6 feet. And then somebody said, you should watch this guy. He's like telling the truth, being me. And then they come in and they see somebody and they're like wide-eyed and what is this about? Somebody said this was the truth. And then a troller comes in and says something stupid and they're like, oh, this is evil, this is bad. They don't know what they're talking about. And then boom, they're gone. So easily, you know, sucked away. And that's why we have these little negative trollers come in and make their comments, because some people are very, very impressionable. Right? They don't have the critical thinking skills yet, and probably never will. All right, guys. That's all I got. Yeah, crazy times on it. Absolutely. And so, yeah, we'll be watching this. And if you can watch it as well. And if you see, because I talked to a lot of people in Hawaii that watch the program that I met for the first time, and they're like, oh, you're, you know, people from all over the world. It's cool. And they're like, yeah, we watch you. And it's like, and they're telling me the stuff that I put out. They're like, and that shooting was bullshit. And that shooting was bullshit. And that shooting was bullshit. I was like, dang, good job. It's good. So, you know, why is some of this stuff bullshit? I don't know. Why isn't Tina Peters freed? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me either. You know, it seems that I'm like, if I was in charge, I just sent a bunch of SEALs over there. It's like, I told you to let her go. If you're not going to let her go, I'm in charge here, mofos. I'm going to come and bust her out. And if anybody gets in the way, they're going to go bye-bye. All right. So, and that's the way I would handle that. But I'm not in charge. Too bad. Too bad. So sad. All right, guys. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration. And I'll see you guys next time.